Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. First of all, it's match day, get excited. I don't know about you, but I've woke up with a smile on my face this morning and it's football related for a change. Really excited about this game today. Manchester United against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. Cannot wait for this to start today. So look, focus on the match is very, very important. But this is the news show. And actually, on a normal day, this would be quite an interesting news show because Fred has basically come out slamming the board. Interesting. We'll also have updates on Declan Rice and Paul Pogba's situation, but we're going to be talking about Fred's words first of all, which, you know what? It always makes me laugh. You will always get the truth eventually. And the truth is that there's been dressing room unrest. Some people just keep saying, oh, the press, man. The press, they're just trying to cause issues. The press, they're lying. The press, they don't know what they're on about. If you follow Manchester United like you have done for the last 2 months, it's very clear that players are not very happy. But I think we're getting to the crux of why they're not happy because Fred has basically come out and said why they're not happy. And it's because of the board, it's because of the short-term goals and the inadequacy and incompetence of how that football club's run. And Fred, in his own words, has very much opened the gate as to why... Probably why we had all the dressing room unrest in early January. Forget the captaincy stuff. I think this is about Rangnick, the first few weeks of January, confusion about his coaching, this, that and the other. And I think Fred, what he said, probably exposes that. Even though he's not putting the blame at Rangnick, he's putting it at the board. So we'll be talking about that in a moment. So it's not negativity from Fred. I think it's a doorway into what's really going on at United and why the players are frustrated and why you'd probably agree with them. So we'll be speaking about that in a minute. We've also got Romano talking about Pogba's transfer situation, as well as a bit about Declan Rice and the game tonight, of course. But first of all, we're going to need to show a bit of balls tonight, Manchester United, and I'm excited to say that our friends from Manscaped have launched their 4th generation performance package. They're sponsoring the show this morning. Big shout out to Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. The Lawnmower 4.0, you heard that right, is the leader in male grooming with over 4 million men worldwide trusting them, Manscaped, with the new performance package. And you can get, as I said, 20% off and free worldwide shipping when you use the code UNITEDSTAND. So if you've still got a jungle in your pants, then you have a good listen to what I've got to say about the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a new multifunctional on and off switch for those who like to travel, the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off for a more precise shave. The new trim has also got adjustable lengths so that you can do whatever length you want to trim it at, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. It's sleeked with a 2-toned matte finish. It's even got a chrome finished Manscaped logo on there, which is very nice. And of course, it's got its wireless charging system, which uses electromagnetic induction charging, which means that, I've just turned it on again, battery life lasts longer, which is very fancy. Alongside the new Lawnmower 4.0 Manscaped, they've got their performance package where you can get the Lawnmower 4.0, which is this. It's a godsend to me when you get to a certain age. Just shove it up your nose, trim the forest up there. And obviously the Weed Whacker, the Crop Preserver, the Crop Reviver, very comfy boxer shorts and a travel bag come part as that performance package, which is great. I use that a lot. And as I said, because Manscaped care about everyone that watches the United Stand, they're giving you a massive 20% off plus free worldwide shipping when you use the code UNITEDSTAND at checkout. So what you're waiting for, head to manscaped.com. Link is in the video description as always, and get your Manscaped razor today. Fantastic products. I've been using them for a while. Anyone who watches the show will know that. Well, hopefully you won't know it by your eyes. Hopefully you've not been watching me use it, but I've been talking about it for a very long time. Really good quality products, and yeah, 20% off with the code UNITEDSTAND and free worldwide shipping. So check it out. Check it out. Anyway, we do need to show a bit of balls tonight, but actually I'm quite confident about Manchester United. So we're just really looking forward to it. I loved the Chelsea-Lille game last night, and this is a bigger game than that. It's Manchester United. It's away in Madrid. It's going to be a hostile crowd. Their season really is pretty much over in relation to major honours, apart from can they have a... You know, I think Man United and Atletico Madrid are in a very similar position, really, that both of us are not having the season we would like, and the Champions League is our sort of only hope of rescuing some sort of excitement from the season, apart from, you know, fighting for 4th, which is what Atletico Madrid might be doing as well. So, but first of all, I want to talk about Fred. So, look, Fred slams United board is the story. What I want to say at the start of this is that everyone's entitled to their opinion, and there will be people out there going, oh, it's just the press telling more lies. How are they telling more lies when it's a direct quote from Fred, first of all? And I think that one thing that slightly frustrates me is that I think some people just want to get in bed with the club. Journalists, other outlets, certain fans, they just want to get in bed with the club. and the club is the Glazers, it's the spin. They just, I don't know why, but they do. I constantly read, oh, it's just lies. Oh, look, they're exposing the lies. Oh, look at the players exposing the lies. But the thing is, you're lying to yourself. Go back over the last 6 weeks. Some of it has been paper stories, but some of it's been direct quotes from the players. You know, we had Luke Shaw speaking after a game about how the players weren't playing for each other. We've had other things. We had a mass amount of different people talking about unrest. There has been dressing room unrest. I think the captaincy thing probably took it away into something it didn't need to be. But there's definitely been dressing room unrest because there's definitely players that have not been very happy. And I think what's happened here is you get Rashford, you get Maguire, you get Bruno coming out going, there's no problem at all. There's no problem in the dressing room, like robots being told to spin how quickly by the club. You then get Fred in an interview with a Brazilian outlet where the truth comes out because he speaks properly, because he's speaking from his mouth and they're direct quotes. And I think this quote from Fred really encapsulates what's been going on at United since they sacked Solskjaer. These players, well, I'll read you the quote. There's no point in me just giving my opinion without giving you the quote. So he said, Fred admits it's strange that they have an interim manager and a little bit bad that they are not working under a permanent appointment. He says it's strange. He told TNT Sports Brazil, he says it's a bit strange working under an interim choice. I know in football it's important to get good results as soon as possible, but it's also important to have a long-term plan. I think it's a little bit bad for us to not have a permanent manager. At the moment, it's all about the short-term goals. We don't know how it's going to be after the end of this season. He also spoke about the Europa League and how they should have won it, and generally they just don't know what the long-term plan is, and they don't know what's going to happen in the summer. Now, that might come across as quite tame to you, but when that's a first-team player for Manchester United, basically saying in a nice way, this situation is not good. We don't know what the long-term plan is. It's short-term. And they bring an interim in. It's not fair on the... And also, I think he's basically saying it's not fair on Rangnick either. That Rangnick's been brought in as an interim. He's not been able to buy a midfielder. He's not been able to say, you've got to go. You know, Fred's absolutely spot on, and he probably reflects what you feel. And it's good in a way, because it gives you a glimpse into the dressing room. Not the bloody drama about who should wear the captain's armband, which is, to be honest, just belongs on a playground. This is genuine concern. This is genuine unhappiness. This is genuine uncertainty, which actually the level-headed Manchester United fan has concerns about. When I talk about I think we're screwed over the next 18 months, it's for this that I think it. I don't think it because Maguire's captain. I don't think the captaincy changes where we are in the league. But I think what Fred's talking about is absolutely spot on. This club is run by incompetent people. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets sacked with half of the season to go. We bring in an interim and give him no power. We don't know who the next manager's going to be. Everything is very short term. This season is ridiculously short term. Do you feel confident about next season? I don't, because we don't really know what's going to happen. There's a huge amount of work. We probably need to sell about 8 players and buy 5 players, which is impossible, just to have a chance to have a progressive season next year. We're in a big mess. We don't know who the manager's going to be. We think it's going to be the club's choice, Pochettino, when most of the fans don't want him. And I think that is basically what Fred is saying, is that this is a bad situation. It's strange. It's not ideal. And it's important to get good results, but it's also important to have a plan. And and it's bad for us that we don't have a permanent manager at the moment, because it's all about the short term. We don't know how it's going to be after the end of this season. And I think he's hit the nail on the head. And you know what? It's probably the most mature way of doing it as well, because I think, you know, it's really important that you get direct quotes from players. And I'm sure the club will not like what Fred said, but I absolutely love it, because you cannot twist it, you cannot turn it, you cannot just come out with this nonsense that some fans come out with. Oh, it's clearly made up by the press. You can't say it's made up by the press when it comes from Fred himself, and he reflects what your frustrations are. The interim manager position is not ideal. It never was ideal. But the thing we got sold on was that Rangnick would have the power to make decisions that he could then take into the summer. And he wasn't given that power. The board went short term and basically wrote the season off. They went, you know what, you're not having any power. You're just here to get us to the end of the season. Halfway through, start of December, United's board wrote the season off. And I think that frustrated a lot of players, because they looked at what Villa did, what Spurs did, and yeah, we're above both teams, but they've got a manager that they know. This is a really important point. Of course, we're in a better position than Spurs and Villa at the moment, but they're in a better long-term position than us. And I think this is what Fred and other players are concerned about. In the short term, we look fine, potentially. In the long term, we don't. Because Villa and Conte at Spurs, yeah, we're in a better position than them, But come the summer, they'll be in a better position than us, because they'll have a manager that is a permanent manager who spent 6 months looking at that squad and goes into the summer going, I don't want these players, I want these players, I'm off on holiday, I'll be back in June. You know, United go into the summer with, thanks Ralph for doing a job that we didn't really let you do. We're getting a new manager in now, he's going to have a look at it all again, and then next season will be another rebuild. And I think that is the crux of what Fred is talking about, and that is the crux of what some players are frustrated about. Yes, in the short term, let's get top 4. Let's go as far as we can in the Champions League. But they're fully aware that in the summer, there's mass uncertainty and it's another rebuild. And what does that mean? And you might not understand this, but in relation to players, they're not fans of the team. They're not fans of the football club. For us as fans, you know, we're going to have a different feeling. But as a player, you need long term. You need it. You know, people are saying sign Paul Pogba on a new contract. What is the chance of Paul Pogba signing a new contract at Manchester United when there's no long-term vision? Paul Pogba might be sat there going, you know what, I think I want to go to Real Madrid, I think I want to go to PSG, but what's your long-term plan? Well, Paul, we've not got a clue. Focus on top 4 in Champions League, mate. Okay, yeah, well, I've actually got phone calls going on with PSG and Real Madrid about their plan next season. You're not giving me a plan, so you know what? Do one, basically. But then it's not just people like Paul Pogba, it's Bruno Fernandes, it's Luke Shaw who are in negotiations to sign a new contract, it's Ronaldo who won't want to play in the Europa League, it's even people like Rashford, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, it's everybody. Because you know what, football is not just about being picked for Manchester United. In fact, it probably is, but it's more than that. Footballers have got book deals, they've got NFTs, they've got World Cup squads to get into, they've got appearance money, they've got win bonuses, they've got goal bonuses. All these things are structured into a footballer's life in the modern game, because a footballer is not somebody who gets in there, gets up, has a bowl of cornflakes, gets in their car, goes training, comes back, maybe plays a bit of FIFA and chill. You know, footballers are run by agents, they're run by bloody social media teams, they're run by sports agencies. Those agencies need money. Footballers are assets. If a footballer's being paid 200 grand a week, but they're also getting a few grand for a win bonus, a few grand for playing, a few grand for scoring a goal, if they're not being picked, are they gonna sell a book? Are they gonna get a boot deal? Are they gonna get in a World Cup squad and earn more money and also ultimately be happy as a footballer? So, you know what? We as fans might not like. I certainly don't like the short-term vision of this football club. I don't like it at all. But I tell you what, players will like it just as less as we do, because players want to know what's happening next season. Imagine you take somebody like, off the top of my head, I'm just going to take a player, right? Well, let's use Fred. He's the one who said it. Right, so Fred, okay? At the moment, are you a starter for United? I seem to be an important player, but am I a starter in the first team? Yeah, I probably just about am. Maybe in some games I'm not, I probably am. In the summer, new manager comes in. He wants to buy a midfielder. He buys a midfielder. Am I a starter anymore? Or am I going into next season, a World Cup year? When I'm in the World Cup squad, am I going into next season on the bench? If I'm on the bench in August, which starts early season, and September, do I miss out on the World Cup? So every player is impacted by the short-termism. Now, flip it around. If Rangnick's the permanent manager now, Fred probably feels a lot happier about his year ahead. Look, I know Rangnick likes me. I'm getting a lot of game time. I'm in the Brazil squad. I'm probably going to go to the World Cup at Christmas. You see what I mean? It's this uncertainty that unsettles players. And I think this is what Luke Shaw was talking about a few weeks ago. This is what all that press in January was talking about. I don't think the players are happy, I don't think they were happy, and maybe what Fred's saying is still going on. I don't think they're arguing with each other about who's the captain. I think they're unsettled because of how the club's being run. And to be honest with you, I would rather the players put stories like this out more often, because this absolutely reflects how I feel, and I think how many of you feel as well. I'm not bothered if the players are unhappy in the dressing room, if they're unhappy about the things we're unhappy about, which is this short-term banking approach to running a big football club. And you'd have to be a real mercenary footballer to just go and play for Man United and be happy with the situation. You know, we're heading nowhere. And Fred spoke about that. He said, you know, the Europa League final, we should have won that. We should have won that final and we didn't. And what are the long-term goals of this team? We're not performing to the level that we need to play. So I appreciated that from Fred. I really did. Mark, morning Mark. Could the Fred quote be the reason why we're not playing as a team because of the uncertainty, says Mikael Roach. I think these players want to play as a team, and I think we will see that tonight. And I don't think it impacts, even in what Fred's saying and even what we've been discussing for the last 2 weeks. I think in the short term we might be okay, because short-term planning's easy. If you've got a leak from your shower into your kitchen, you just put a bloody bucket there and you keep changing the bucket. It's a short-term fix. Long-term, that roof's going to come through. Long-term, you need to get a plumber in and you need to get a plasterer in. But in the short term, that bucket will be fine. You won't get wet on the floor. You'll still be able to have a shower. Long-term, you're in for a lot of problem. Short-term, Manchester United are all right. Fred knows that. I know that. You know that. Doesn't mean we will get fourth. Doesn't mean we are going to do well in the Champions League. But we're in a position where we can. Short-term, we can. Long-term, we're in meh. We're in big trouble. So I don't think that the players aren't pulling together. I think we've seen that against Leeds, and I think we'll see it again tonight, hopefully. But in the long term, I think the players... I think what happened is, I think in January, Solskjaer got sacked. They went with an interim. Rangnick... And I know for a fact this was a big frustration, and this is why when it came out in the press, it wasn't a surprise to me and many others. I know for a fact that the players were really pissed off when Rangnick first came in. Not because they don't like Rangnick, but because Rangnick came in as an interim, and he's getting coaches that these players have never heard of, that were basically who's available. The lad who came in from America, Rangnick was not allowed and unable to get the coaches in he wanted because they were already in jobs, and also the board were like, well, no, we're not paying to take people out of jobs when you're only here for 6 months. So the players were like, well, hold on a minute, we've sacked Solskjaer, which was the right thing to do. We've still got half a season to play. We're in a bit of a dodgy position. You've brought a manager in as an interim, but his coaches, you can't get him because he's not going to be here in the summer. So there was a lot of frustration with the players because they're like, well, these aren't the coaches Rangnick even wants. We're now trying to finish a season off and get in the Champions League. And you're just not... Basically, the frustration from the players has been at the board. The board have just written the season off and gone, get on with Rangnick with what he can get. Use the coaches he can get, but we're not investing in the team. We're not investing in Rangnick. It's about getting to the summer. And that pissed the players off. And I think that's led to a lot of unsettled and unhappiness. But I think where the press have probably got it wrong is that they focused on players falling out with each other and undermining Rangnick. And I don't know that that was ever the case. I think the players were just unhappy, like we were, with how the club has handled it. And that's reflected in what Fred has said as well. And obviously, different people who are unhappy react to things in different ways. If you're going, it's like, you know what? It's like going to war. And I don't want to use that analogy, but it is like going to battle with wooden swords when everyone else has got metal ones and machine guns. It's like you either fight or you get frustrated. And I think some players have fought and some people have got frustrated, which is understandable. But I think that it's not something to be. It's not probably where we were a week ago or even 6 weeks ago, where there's this frustration about players leaking stuff to the press. This is a direct quote from Fred. I don't think he said anything wrong. Do you? I don't think he said anything wrong. It doesn't make me think, oh, Fred, stop talking about, the club not being in a good position. I think it's a very honest interview that I'm guarantee the club are not happy about, because it gets interpreted in the way it has been by us, which is that Fred actually is a bit of a hero for coming out and saying it. He's saying it how it is. The club is run badly. The interim appointment wasn't ideal because he's got no power. The players don't know what the long-term vision is. And it's massively embarrassing for the club that a first-team player has come out and said, what are we doing? What is the plan? This is not ideal. What are we doing? What's next season? What is the long-term plan at this football club? And I'll tell you what, tell me another club in the Premier League that has got as short a vision as we've got at the moment. I can't think of a club that's in this position. Maybe Leicester. I think it looks like Leicester will sack Rodgers, so they'll get a new manager in the summer. But Villa, long-term plan. Spurs, long-term plan. Newcastle, long-term plan. Everton have got Lampard now, long-term plan. Arsenal, Arteta, long-term plan. Wolves, Bruno Lage, long-term plan. I'm not talking about Chelsea, Man City and Liverpool because they're on a different level. There's 6 or 7 clubs that will be competing with us next year who have a long-term plan. We don't even know what our plan is, and I think that's what Fred's talking about. No, you know what? I'll criticize. I mean, one thing I disagreed with Fred is he said that I'm always up for constructive criticism, but he said that sometimes some of the criticism online is a bit horrible, and well, I think it is. But ultimately, you're an entertainer, Fred, and you're there to be in a Man United shirt. Standards need to be big, so I think Fred has been a bit crap this season, but I think when Fred's on it, he's a decent player, and hopefully he can keep performing like that. But he's obviously switched on to what's going on, and I'd applaud him on that. From Fred to Pogba, Fabrizio Romano talking about the Pogba situation and basically said that nothing is advanced at the moment in relation to Paul Pogba. Obviously, it's normal that an agent would be in discussions with other clubs. It's now coming up for mid-February. It's coming towards the end of February, actually. February's a quick month, and he said that ultimately there probably will be discussions going on with other clubs, but at the moment there's no advanced conversation with any club at this moment in time, and that Paul Pogba will probably be waiting until the summer. I just don't know. I mean, look, football is very, very surprising. Part of me, I know we keep talking about Pogba, and I just want to keep talking about Pogba because what he's doing on the pitch. I had somebody message me the other day saying that they found it offensive. Don't give a shit. Well, they found it offensive when I said that Paul Pogba's putting himself in the shop window. And I was like, well, I didn't even bother replying because I'll reply now. How is it offensive to have an opinion about a player who's got 3 months left on his contract, playing well so that they get as good an offer as possible? I don't think people actually understand the termings that I'm using when I say Pogba's putting himself in the shop window. It doesn't mean Pogba's putting himself in the shop window with a for sale sign saying, come and buy me, Real Madrid. He's putting himself in the shop window for everybody. He's basically saying, I'm available, buy me for my value. Man United can do that. Willian did it a couple of years ago. I mean, he basically was unbelievable. Remember when we came back from lockdown the first time, and Willian seemed to score every week for Chelsea, and then Arsenal bought him, and he never played well again. There is a strong history of players coming towards the end of their contract and putting themselves in the shop window and suddenly finding consistency and form because they have to. And this will benefit Manchester United massively. But look, I mean, what do you expect a Paul Pogba to do? What do you expect a Jesse Lingard to do? What do you expect a Kylian Mbappe to do when they've got 3 or 4 months left on their contract? Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just going to coast through the rest of the season. Somebody will buy me. Or, you know what? I'm going to show the world what I'm all about because I want the most money I can get and I want the best team I can go to. And that's all Paul Pogba's going to do. It's all Kylian Mbappe's going to do. It's about showing the world what you're all about so you get as many offers as possible. And that means a decent offer from Manchester United as well. So we've just got to be... I find every time Paul Pogba plays well, I find the whole social media, give him what he wants, get him on a new contract, really quite tiresome because we have no power. We've already offered him a contract and he said no. He's not going to sign a new contract until the summer. So all this, get him a contract, get him to sign a contract. United have tried that. And ultimately, we've just got to look at it. Unfortunately, it's sort of symbolic of what Fred said. It's a short-term thing. We've just got to enjoy Pogba in the short term because long-term it might not end the way we want it to, which is basically what United's all about now. It's this just short-term next 3 months because God knows what's coming next. But you know what? United might win the Champions League and we might go and win every single game in the league and we might look like we're favourites for the league next year and we might be Champions League holders and we might offer Paul Pogba 500 grand a week and he might go, you know what, I want to stay. A pig might fly past my window, and to be fair, how windy it was last week, that could have actually happened. So, look, you never know. But ultimately, I think with Pogba, it's wait and see what happens in the summer. Pogba's situation is like the Take Me Out show, Paddy McGuinness show, also Pancake Day cooking with Goldbridge special next Tuesday, says Joshua Bowwater. I don't know whether I've ever done pancakes on that, but that would be quite good. I don't think anyone's going to go in on Fred. Jason says people will go in on Fred now. I don't think people are going to go in on Fred. I don't think people really listen to what I've got to say anyway, despite what people who don't watch the channel think. I think the community we've got has thrived because it's got people in it like yourself who are very capable of forming your own opinions. But I actually think Fred will be held in a better light this morning than he was last night because of those quotes, because I think he's basically speaking for the fans. the reason United are in this position they are, which is not a very good one, is because of the board and the decisions they've made. And I think that's what Fred's saying. And I think a lot of the players know that. I know players in that team who can't stand the board. They don't trust the board. And, their relationship really is with certain people that they get on within the club that aren't board members. And, they love the club, but they don't love the board. So there's a few players like that. Some of these players are actually quite switched on. Not all of them are thick. And they can see what this club is all about. Just wanted to talk about Declan Rice as well. So £120 million has been mentioned by Sky Sports today. And I don't think West Ham are ever going to get £120 million. I mean, Declan Rice, again, it's another one, isn't it? Look, it's a news show, so I've got to cater for what people might be thinking. And I guarantee there'll be some United fans out there going, oh, yeah, Declan Rice, we've got to get Declan Rice in the summer. He's going to solve everything. He'll solve our midfield problems. We can send him over to Russia and he can solve the problems over there. Fortunately, COVID's been sorted, but he would have sorted that out as well. Send him down to the Prime Minister. He'll sort that. He'll sort him out. There will be fans like that because, some fans are like that, and opinions are definitely valid, and that's what it's all about. Some people get excited about all sorts of things. But we won't have to pay £120 million for Declan Rice. We'll probably have to pay about £80 million for Declan Rice. But again, it's, for me personally, I'm like, well, it doesn't really excite me. If you listen to what Fred says, what I think, what you probably think, for me the excitement is tonight. You can't move with United at the moment. You can't look long term. If the players can't look long term, how can we look long term? If you've got players coming out saying what's the long term plan at this football club, how the hell can we predict what it is? You've got Man United players who don't even know what's happening in the summer or what the long term vision is for the club. They don't know whether the club wants to win titles. They don't know whether the club is happy with fourth and that's what they'll be happy with next year. So how can we get excited about Declan Rice? So I think with Declan Rice and his value, the only thing I would say about Declan Rice is that for £80 million CDM, I want Fabinho, I want Rodri, I want that level of CDM. Is Declan Rice ever going to be as good as Fabinho or Rodri? And if he's not, why are we paying £80 million for him? And that's the question United need to ask. And Chelsea need to ask, because let's be honest, if Chelsea want him, they'll get him. Do you think Declan Rice can be as good as a Fabinho or a Rodri? And if you do, then maybe he's the player to go for. And if you don't, then why are we doing it? Because we've made these mistakes before. We've seen Liverpool get Van Dijk and we've got Harry Maguire. We've seen Liverpool get good right backs and we spent big on Wan-Bissaka. We can't do that again. We can't just go with the Aldi English version of what other top clubs are doing. People might say that's harsh, but Maguire is an Aldi Van Dijk. Wan-Bissaka has turned out to be an Aldi version of a top right back. So we need to make sure that the midfielder that we get this summer isn't the same mistake again. And, there's a lot of pressure on United in the summer. I've got the dreaded double line today. COVID, here we go. Snooker and football on the telly. Could be worse. Keep up the work, Mark, says Edwin Ingbertson. Edwin, thank you very much for your super chat. I hope you're doing well, mate. And enjoy the snooker. We need low-key signings, not a high-priced Rice, says Steve Locke. And even Ranić said Paul Pogba would be putting himself in the shop window. Glazers never have done anything correctly. 80 million average centre-back and a like signing, says Benham. The biggest problem at Manchester United is the board and the owners. And when a player comes out and says that, I love it. I'm here for that. And I think that I don't know how many people are going to talk about it this morning because, I agree that this is a really exciting time. We've got an exciting game today. But as I said, it's a time for the Glazers to sell. They're exposed, says Hollis. You cannot wake up in the morning and say, the Athletic or the Daily Mail or something say that the players are pissed off with the board. Because people will say, wow, it's just the papers making it up. What we have here is direct quotes from a Man United first team player questioning where the club is heading. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And the club can't spin it. They can't. And this is the great thing. This is one of the things I do like about our foreign players, is that when they talk to their country press, they tend to speak quite honestly. Pogba's done it for years. I think, Fred's done it here, isn't it? It's great to see because it just backs up what we think is that, well, not all of us will think it, but the long-term future of this football club is very, very questionable. I hope United go for Basuma. He's a good CDM, says Sakiv. And I want Diallo at Southampton as our CDM. Could you take a look at him? Says Nog. And United missed out on Zakaria. Can't understate it, says Mr. Coolio. Mate, you know what? I feel like Zakaria is a little bit like what I used to talk about Perisic all those years ago. Remember when Mourinho wanted Perisic and some of our fans were like, I don't want Perisic, never heard of Perisic. And I was like, you know what? He can put a cross in, he's creative. And at that time, I think he would have been a really good signing. And United just didn't want to pay a couple of million more. And again, a manager didn't get what they wanted. I think with Zakaria, just disgusting. Disgusting that Ralph, I mean, and this is what Fred's talking about. You know, this is the danger of having an interim. It's bad because you bring an interim in and you say, yeah, you're just here to get us till the summer. We're not here to back you. And Rangnick says, well, look, Zakaria's a really good midfielder. Get him for me. We need a midfielder. No, we're waiting until the summer because you're not going to be the manager. And that's basically what Fred's saying. It's like this short-term vision. What's the long-term vision then? You know, you've written the season off, basically. You bring an interim in and then you don't give him any power. Technically, they've written the season off, this board, and everything that happens this season is on them. Hi, Mark. Can you say hi to my mate, Robbo? He's a Pratt. He's a Glazers in. Also, love your videos, mate, says Matt Simpson. And maybe of continuous signing of elderly strikers also sparks long-term thoughts with the squad also, says Alpi. Yeah, mate, look, I think you make a good point. I think there's so many strands to why United are in a bad position. And I think you're right. I think the players will look at it as well. If I was a Man United first teamer, doesn't matter who you are, if I was a Man United first teamer, I would look at that squad and I would go, right, yeah, we've got overpaid players here who aren't good enough but are going to be here for a long time. We've got players that this club can't sell who will be here for a long time. We've got players who in the next 2 years won't even be here that are going to need replacing. And we're nowhere near the top three anyway. Plus, we've got owners who don't really care about winning leagues. They just want to finish fourth. And I'd go, if I'm half decent, I'll hang around for another year and then I'm going. Because ultimately, if things don't change in the next year, or they get worse in the next year, then the writing's on the wall for the next 10. So, you know, I don't think players are stupid. And I don't think players aren't listening and watching what's going on at that football club. And as I've said, for me, for United to be progressive next season, they'd have to sell 8 players and buy 5. Never going to happen. We're never going to do that. And you'd have to try and keep some of the players that might want to leave in the summer as well. So, you know, it's a huge, huge, huge issue, which the short term is covering up the long-term issues, I suppose. This team is filled with average players, which ain't good enough for the club. Theme Park is the fitting name, while Glazers in nothing will change, says Beham. And I unfollowed Manchester United on Twitter after Leeds game. They tweeted 40 times, no lie, 40, acting like we won the league. I unfollowed them after the Super League, Dazzo, because they're just a bloody theme park, like you say. You know, it's so mercenary, it's sickening. A Rice is for a finished project. United are not even starting. They lied to us about Ollie's project. We're no different than Jose Mourinho's project, says Ray, Carl, Brown, Amori. And no vision means in order to attract and retain players, we need to offer massive contracts. This means we can't offload players we don't need because no one can afford their wages. Barcelona 2.0 financially wise, says Marco. Well, look, you know what? I think Fred has come out and exposed the long-term issues at the club. I think he's given a glimpse into the dressing room as to why the players haven't been unhappy, because they're frustrated about where the club is going, and I think that reflects as we feel as fans. So I applaud Fred for speaking out honestly. I'm sure the club won't applaud him for that, but in the short term, like Fred says, like we've said, I think in the short term we might get some exciting times. We certainly will do tonight. In the long term, I think we should be concerned. But today is about the short term. It's about Atletico Madrid. It's an exciting game tonight. And I'm looking forward to it. So thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Can't wait for the game tonight. Really excited. And we've got a road trip coming up for you at about 2 o'clock. Adam and Beth are over in Spain now for the match. So we'll give you something about that as well. Make sure you subscribe, smash a like on the video, and don't forget Manscaped 20% off. Don't know why I'm saying 40. God, they'll go bankrupt. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Your balls will thank you. Links in the video description. I'll see you all a little bit later. I'm on Twitch at 3 o'clock with TUSFC, And obviously tonight, most importantly, this watch along, Manchester United in Madrid. Bring it on. Can't wait. Have a good day, whatever you're doing, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.